Greetings, Bartholomew Perez, engineer, realtor in California, and Florida author and investor. A few days ago, I talked about unreasonable hospitality and what the power of making people feel and exceeding their expectations, what that can do. And the book's point being that this can transcend the restaurant and hotel business. And it can actually appear in our everyday life, engineering, real estate, writing, teaching, psychology, and beyond. So I think it's remarkable that there's a wealth of knowledge behind books and stories being the oldest form of entertainment aside from singing and dancing, but storytelling and the power of conveying a message that is clear with examples and illustrative of what it means to convey a feeling. So, highly recommend. And today, a second book. Um, I think this is something that transcends, absolutely does transcend. This is something that transcends beyond being first generation because those that are fully aware and conscious of where they're going, I think are mindful of the wealth that they are building along the way. This book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, does just that. I'm surprised that this has taken me this long to read this book, but I picked it up with the choice of keeping these principles in mind. So it goes through several principles on what it requires, what is required, and I think expected if you are on a journey of accumulating wealth. I'm a little bit over half of this book, and so I'm excited to actually finish through the whole thing. Right now, I'm on the subject of decision making and mastering procrastination. I think for many of us, that is our vein where we will put things off until the last minute because we have plenty of time, and generally, more time does not mean it's a good thing. So, the mastery of making decisions. This is what chapter 8 goes over. I'd like to read a couple of the paragraphs because I think it does justice in what it looks like and what failing to make decisions actually looks like. So, here goes. Decision. The mastery of procrastination. The seventh step to riches. Accurate analysis of over 25,000 men and women who had experienced failure disclosed the fact that lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of failure. This is no mere statement of a theory, it is a fact. Procrastination, the opposite of decision, is a common enemy that practically everybody must conquer. Analysis of several hundred people who accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and of changing these decisions slowly, if and when they were changed. People who fail to accumulate money, without exception, have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing these decisions quickly and often. The majority of people who fail to accumulate money sufficient for their needs are generally easily influenced by the opinions of others. They permit the newspapers and the gossiping neighbors to do their thinking for them. Opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has a flock of opinions ready to be wished upon anyone who will accept them. If you are influenced by opinions when you reach decisions, you will not succeed in any undertaking, much less in that of transmuting your own desire into money. If you are influenced by the opinion of others, you will have no desire of your own. Keep your own counsel. When you begin to put into practice the principles described here by reaching your own decisions and following them. I think that summarizes a lot of what we face when it comes to decision making and why I think coming to the source of the problem. Why is it that we're putting things off? Is it because we're frightened? We have too many options? We are scared of the opinions of others? Or we hold those opinions too highly when really the real opinion that should matter the most is our own? And if it aligns with the goals that we have set forth for ourselves, um, the ability to make decisions quickly, I think, is a different skill, very much related. And this shows up everywhere. The things we eat, how we dress, what we decide to do for our hobbies, if we decide to go to the gym and be active or engage on some physical activity, if we decide to take on a training that we've been setting aside maybe seeking new skills to reach that next level in employment or starting a business. It's endless, and it is a habit that must be broken if we're on a journey of wealth creation. Being first generation, I don't have a good example of what it means to have a foundation in wealth. My parents grew up in villages in Oaxaca, different villages in Oaxaca, Mexico, and for them, it was all about survival. So a lot of my early upbringing was around survival. What does it mean to be paycheck to paycheck? What does it mean to be a laborer? My mom was a housekeeper, my dad a dishwasher. And having been in those industries, it was very taxing on them. The ability to acquire wealth, it, although possible, very difficult with the game in hand that they were dealt. So it was up to my siblings and I to figure out what is it going to look like if we are going to acquire and retain and pass on any figment of wealth. Because the world becomes more and more expensive every day. It shows up in all sorts of ways. I mean, the pricing of things, vehicles, groceries, gasoline, clothes, and then it transmutes into what sort of wages are we earning, and is that keeping up with inflation and the depreciation of fiat currencies. That's not the subject of today. It's really procrastination and how it's easy to just put things aside. But if we are on a purposeful journey, I think mastering that skill, being able to say no to procrastination and figuring out how we can go about making decisions easier. Two examples that I have is I think very little of what I wear day to day because I enjoy wearing ties, I enjoy dressing up. I will often be overdressed in most situations because it's easier to dress down if that circumstance is the case. And I just feel better about myself. If you look good, you tend to feel good, and that's just not only limited to the way you dress, but if you work out and you take care of your body, same thing. I think there's a lot to say about how we present ourselves and the aesthetics that we're demonstrating and displaying. Um, that's one. I don't think very much about what I wear, maybe just outside of colors. That's it. Second thing I don't think much about is, am I going to meal prep versus eating out? I'd opt out for meal prepping and cooking for myself, where it's very, very simple. It's usually some protein, chicken or steak with a lot of veggies, and they're always the same: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, and then I'll fill in with carbs, either potatoes or rice. I try to limit the rice these days, but it requires very little thought. And if I'm out of that certain thing, then I'll know because I'm so used to having it. Um, Very simple. I don't think about those things. If I absolutely have to eat out, then I will make a point to be selective. So, am I gonna have something that's rich in nutrients versus just convenient fast food? And those two things change a lot. It takes people a surprisingly amount of time to make those quick decisions. I think if we are going to make best use of our time, two simple things: what are we going to eat? What are we going to wear? Take care of that, and I think you're well on your way towards wealth creation. I think at some point when I'm done with the entire book, I'll speak more on this, but I highly recommend it because it's very fruitful. It shares a lot of stories that are historical in nature and things that we might not think about day to day. But if you're really thinking about wealth creation, your future, your next moves, everything to do with long term, even staying present, I think this is a good book to pick up. Anyway, Bartholomew Perez, engineer, realtor in California and Florida, author and investor, signing out. Until next time.